Hi, my name is Aaliyah Sadana, and regarding this week's question, there are many factors that have led to the fall of crime in the last 2 decades. Just drawing from history that I got from the book, in the 1920s and 1930s, crime had went up and went down. So there is a pattern of when crime goes up, it comes back down. And people have the notion that rising punishment decreases crime. However, that is not true. When looking at the past, when punishment was raised, the crimes actually raised with it. Going back to the question of why crime has dropped within the last 2 decades, one of the main reasons being the economic constraints of that crime, the economic constraints that police face when containing crime. On the book, on page 256, says the need to rein in criminal justice budgets might have placed limits on the rise of the prison population had that needed existed. So from this, it said that we were imprisoning too much people that we did not have the means for. And just using number evidence, statistical evidence from the book, in 2005, in the fiscal year, about 2.6% of state spending was spent on policing and crime. And to put that in the bigger picture, that is 1/5 of what was spent on education. So the policing and correctional departments were receiving way too small economic means to be imprisoning people. Another reason why crime has gone down was one being the crack pandemic had went down, so a primary driver of crime was the use of drugs, and now when that went away, so did most of crime. Another reason of crime is the improved policing strategies that have increased over time. One being the increase of plea bargaining that have kept people away from being in prison, that the book talks about. And going off to the second part of the question, what should governments do about the high incarceration levels? I believe that the government should give their best attempt to decrease these incarceration rates, because the mass incarceration rates has led to economic, social, and a lot of racial problems. Using the weekly resources of Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn's, how he speaks up about the lawsuit that was given to him defending the Milwaukee Police Department. His refusal to claim what the lawsuit is saying, it just shows how he just reinforces how the government practices incarceration in a way that is punishable rather than being rehabilitationable and restorative, as in punitive punitive type of policing does not lead to long-term reductions in crime, whereas restorative justice leads to crime. We should reform the system so we are not having higher incarceration rates and address the obvious racial disparities that come with the mass incarceration. And another way to combat this is just increasing our education levels about just the more education a community has. The more education a community has, the less crime there is. Thank you for listening.